Alright guys, today we're going to talk a little bit about credit. So we will go over some different types of credit, what credit is, some vocabulary associated with it. We'll talk about credit scores a little bit as well. This is a very important topic, I think, for especially people your age to start understanding if you don't know a lot about credit now. Because as you can see up on the screen right on the right hand side up here, the average household credit card debt is over $15,000, and that's from a few years ago, so it's probably even higher now. And when you add that on to things like student loans and mortgage debt and car payments and things like that, it really adds up. And a lot of people don't know how to use credit wisely, so that is what we're going to talk about in this video here. So again, we're going to talk about some of the types of credit, and really what we focus on is how you can use credit wisely so that you do not end up in a bad financial situation with credit. Okay, so what credit is, the definition, the book definition: money that a lender makes available to a borrower with the understanding that the borrower will repay money in the future. So there's two people involved with credit. There's the borrower and there's the lender. So you can think, if you think of a credit card company, right? I'll use Capital One as an example. I have a Capital One credit card. So in that example, I would be the borrower. Capital One would be the lender, because every time I use my credit card, they are paying for whatever I'm buying, and then I've got to pay them back later on, usually with interest. And that's how credit card companies make their money, is because when we borrow money, we've got to pay back interest to people who lend us the money. So you can think of, in the saving and investing unit, we talked about putting our money into accounts that earn interest for us. Now it's the complete opposite. Now we've got to pay back interest to people who lend us money. Okay, so you've got two people. You've got the borrower, you've got the lender with credit. Okay, there's three different types of credit that we'll talk about: non-installment, installment credit, and then open-end or revolving credit. And when you think about credit, most people, I think, just think of credit cards, because that's probably the one that we have most experience with, or see around the most. Maybe some of you have credit cards or your parents' cards or something like that. Anytime you're borrowing money, that's credit. So you can think of loans, you can think of your mortgage. Those are all forms of credit. Somebody's lending you money that you can use to purchase things, and you've got to pay back over time. So when people run into problems with credit, it's because it's not their money that they're spending. So a lot of times people don't think long term, oh, I have to pay this back, and that's where people run into problems. So the first type of credit, non-installment credit. If you've ever seen a commercial for like maybe a furniture store or an appliance store that says things like no money down, no interest, you can walk away with this refrigerator today and not have to pay any interest. Those are examples of non-installment credit. They're usually extended for a short period of time, so like a month, 60 days, 90 days, somewhere in that time range, where they will borrow you the money. They will pay for this product for you, and you have to pay it off before the end of the terms. So if I walked into Best Buy and they're having a sale on TVs and they said, hey, Mr. Neve, you could have this 65-inch TV today and walk out of the store with it right now, and then you can pay back for this TV in the next 90 days. That would be an example of non-installment credit. And the reason that it's called non-installment credit is because I can pay back $20 every day. I can pay back the full thing right away. I can pay back the full thing on the last day. It's up to me. There's not any installment payments that I have to make. And that'll make more sense when we learn a little bit about installment credit in the next slide. When people run into problems here, it's because they forget they have to pay back that amount, or they don't pay back in full payments, so they get charged interest. Okay, so most places that will use non-installment credit, places like department stores, furniture stores, appliance, you could use it for appliances usually. We've all seen advertisements like we see over here on the right hand side. The next type of credit is installment credit. Okay, this is different from non-installment credit because with installment credit, you have to make monthly payments. They're required that you have to make them. Okay, installment credit is used for specific purchases. So the example that I use for installment credit would be something like getting a loan for a car, where you know you've got to pay $550 every month for the next 3 or 4 years. Okay, you don't get to choose, well, I'm going to pay a little bit this month, then I'm going to pay them more that month. You have installments that you have to make every month. So things like car, boat, your house, your mortgage payment would be an example of installment credit. And the reason that we call it that, again, is because you've got monthly installments that you've got to pay every single month. Okay, so it's a little bit different than non-installment, but kind of similar idea. Okay, so like here would be an example of somebody paying off installment credit. It says Toby applied for a $10,000 car loan at an 8% interest rate. He signs a contract with the lender that says he's going to pay $313.36 every month for the next 3 years. Okay, so that is an installment credit agreement because he is paying some installment every single month, the same exact payment. The last type of credit, this is probably the most familiar one for you. This is also the most mismanaged and the most the one that people have the most problems with. It's called revolving credit or open-end credit, and this is your credit card. This is what a credit card would be. So what it does is it allows people to borrow an amount of money that they can use to spend on whatever they want, and then it rolls over to the next month. Your balance rolls over to the next month. So with credit cards, you have what's called a credit limit, which is the maximum amount that you can borrow. So most of the time it's around $3,000, maybe $5,000, $10,000 at the most that you can spend on that card. And you can use that to purchase anything that you want to. So that's why people run into problems, because they can use this card to go wherever they want, purchase whatever they want. And then whatever they don't pay off rolls over to the next month. They can carry a balance over, and now they're going to get charged a lot of interest on whatever they did not pay off. Okay. Most of the time your credit limit will increase over time if you show that you are a good borrower, that you pay back the amount of money that you borrow. Your credit limit can increase on your credit card. So this is the most misused type of credit, revolving or open-end credit. Think of it as a credit card. Okay, so with an open-end credit or revolving credit, you have a lot of options of how you want to pay back that money. So we look at the example here. It says Whitney charged $200 to her credit card with 13% interest rate. She receives her credit card bill with a $20 minimum payment. So she's got to pay at least $20. And this is how credit card companies make their money most of the time. So Whitney spent $200 here, and her credit card company says, hey, you've only got to pay us $20 this month. That's your minimum payment. And Whitney says, okay, great. So she pays the $20. Now she's still got a balance of $180 on her credit card that she did not pay off. So now what the credit card company does is they charge her interest on that $180. So now she's got to pay back $190. So she's paying just to borrow this money. And Whitney has many options how she wants to pay back the $200. On that top line there, she could pay back $200 all on day one and get it over with. And that's what I do on my credit cards. That way I don't get charged any interest. Or she could split it up into even payments and repay it over time that way. Or she can say, hey, I've got a little bit more money this month. I'll pay back a little bit extra. Not as much this month. I'll just do the minimum payment. So with open credit, you kind of have, open-end credit, you have the flexibility to pay back as you can. Okay. Some key terms here with credit. Again, we see principal and interest, just like we did in our savings unit. Principal is the amount of money that you have left on the loan that you took out. So if I spent $200 on my credit card, that principal amount that I have to pay back is $200. let's say I paid back $50. Now the principal amount I have is $150. That's what I still have to pay back. And then interest is the price of money. It's what we get charged for borrowing money from people. Okay, and this is where we get stuck with a lot of fees and money that we have to pay back. Okay, so we can see some examples of how interest rates and how time affect how we pay for things. So if we wanted to buy a car, let's say that car cost $3,000. If I walked into the car dealership and I had a briefcase full of $3,000, I could put it on the table and I could say, here you go, here's my $3,000. Take it and it's over with. Okay, or you can see down on that list some other ways that we could pay for the car. If we wanted to finance it over 24 months, over 12 months, over 36 months, the longer that we pay this amount, the more we're going to end up paying in interest. So you can see on that second line, it says, let's take out a loan for 12 months at 12%. Well, we're going to have a higher monthly payment of $266.55, but look at how much interest we pay over that year. We only pay about $200 worth of interest. If we go to the next line, let's make it a 2-year loan. Well, now my monthly payment is a lot lower. It's almost cut in half, but look at the interest that I pay total. Now it's up to about $400. So you can see the longer that we pay interest, the more we're going to pay in interest. So it's very, very wise to get your credit paid off right away as quick as you can so that you don't get charged interest. Okay. We'll come back to this later when we watch the maxed out discussion video, so we will skip that for now. We'll skip this slide. So a lot of times people ask, well, why should you use credit? People get into bad situations. What's the point? Credit helps you buy things that you can't afford right now. You think about things like a car. Cars cost thousands of dollars, or a house, which would cost tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not many people have that money sitting aside that they can just walk up and purchase things with. So credit allows us to make big purchases without having the money on us right there and right then. We talk about things like credit scores in a few slides. Your credit score is like your grade point average once you graduate from school and you're in the real world. So people will use your credit score to make judgments or make assessments about you from things like your how much insurance is going to cost you, how much your car is going to cost you, what interest rate you'll get on a credit card, if you'll get a job or not. Your credit score will affect all of those things. So when you use credit wisely, it shows people, banks, employers, people who you might be buying things from, it shows them that you are a trustworthy person, that you are a responsible person. Okay? But on the flip side, people use credit very irresponsibly sometimes because it's not their money that they're spending. So they think it's okay if I spend a little bit more than I make because it's not my money. I'll be able to pay it back over time. Well, if they don't have the money now, and then they're going to get charged more in interest and more in fees, they're not going to have any more money later on. Okay, and that's the thing that people don't see a lot of times. They don't think long term, and that's how we get into bad situations. Okay, and then our credit rate is going to go down, our credit score is going to go down, our interest rates are going to go up, we're going to have to pay more money, and it's a bad situation. And we'll see that when we watch the maxed out video and when we in the next video when we talk about credit scores. Okay, so we'll end this video here and we'll do credit scores next.